Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's July 4th, 2024. So happy birthday to our country. It's our 248th birthday. And,
Absolutely.
with all the stuff that's going in the world, just makes you realize, that this is a pretty special place to be. And, like I said, we should be grateful to all of our um, servicemen and George Washington and the guys that fought to make this happen. And 248 years later, here we are doing our sports show. So happy 4th of
Absolutely.
July, everybody!
Happy 4th of July. And
And I
despite
have
all the
my
politics,
I even wore my little. Eli and I both have our red, white, and blue
white and
shirts
blue
on
on.
today.
Yep. Red, white,
Right?
and blue. Yeah. Despite all the politics, we still give thanks to America and all the servicemen and
You
women
bet.
that made it
You
all
bet.
happen.
So we always start our show off, Eli, right, with our monologue, which is, of course, sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York. And I just wanted to bring up something that we really haven't touched on in certainly in the past couple of months, but like the Paris Olympics is coming up and starts in a couple of weeks. And I remember growing up, and me and my brother Steve, we would watch, just the Olympics over and over, and just couldn't get enough of it. And it's a little bit different now, right? There's a lot of different events that are in there, from surfing and stuff like that. But all of the stuff going on in this world, it's kind of a time maybe we could use that to unite and give thanks for the country. So we're going to see world records broken and swimming, and there's always something there. It brings some excitement. So you get an opportunity, Eli. I think it's Paris Olympics starts in what, 2.5 weeks or something to that
Yes, I
effect,
believe two and
right?
a half weeks. It'll be covered all over on NBC and Peacock. It's a lot more events. And obviously, it's before it used to be all cable. Now it's, of course, games on Peacock and stuff. So just be prepared that it's going to
Yeah,
be a different Olympics this year compared to what we've seen in the past. And we do have a comment
yeah,
from
it
Jack
will.
Fitzpatrick. Happy 4th, Jim. And thank you for watching. And for everybody, don't forget to comment and send us an email at sportsmonomono@gmail.com.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate it. And happy 4th of July to you. So, like I said, Eli, I remember Steve and I, we were watching, it's amazing, going back to like 1972 when Mark Spitz won all these
Of
awards. And
course,
then we come up, in the past three Olympics at least, Michael Phelps was the new
the new champ.
Mark
Yeah.
Spitz and so forth. So it should be exciting. Like I said, it's a little bit different now, right? So the timing and the programming will be early in the morning, and you'll have to catch delays and stuff. But like I said, for 4th of July from Sports with Mono and Mono, let's get behind this. This is what it's all about, representing the United States of America. So
Absolutely.
anyway, right? So listen, let's jump into a couple things because there's a lot going on, and
Yes.
I have a very special thing to discuss near the end of the show, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But Eli, Wimbledon is underway, and Novak
Yes.
is there, and the guys, these are the same guys that we talk about in the U.S. Open, the Australian Open, right? This new
Right.
breed of tennis players, right? Sinner and Zverev, and all of these guys, and Djokovic is still in there. We didn't know he was going to even play. He's been battling an injury, but this guy is so determined to get another Grand Slam win that Wimbledon is always very exciting to me. And I know
Right.
Mike Garvey down in Florida, he loves it too. And when you look on the men's side, this kid, Carlos Alcaraz, he is going to be the next dominant player in tennis on the men's
Absolutely.
side. So it's always exciting. Even the women's side, you have Coco Gauff is in there, and the defending champ Vonda Russo got knocked out in the first round, which is
Yes.
rare. So you never know what's going to happen on the grass courts of Wimbledon. And like I said, it's almost 2 weeks long. So we're just kind of underway there, but it's a sport that I've always loved. I grew up watching all of these guys in the 70s and the 80s and even beyond. So I hope you guys get an opportunity to watch some of it and watch some of the young talent that's out there right now.
Yes, it's obviously live every day beginning at 6 in the morning on ESPN, and it's a lot of fun matches to take a look out and watch.
It is. Really, really is. So I wanted to make sure we didn't not cover that. Eli, why don't you give us real quick, since you did such a good job last week on our soccer, the Copa and the Euros, and where we stand with that.
All right, well, let's go to the top moments so far of the week. We'll start off with Turkey's goalie, Mert Gonak, who just saved what would have been a beautiful tying goal for Austria, and it led to a Turkey victory of the final score 2-1. It was a crazy moment that happened, and that was one of the top moments there. Another top moment, which is unfortunately not a top moment for the United States. However, they were eliminated following a 1-0 loss to Uruguay on Monday. Yes, it was a tough loss for them. Unfortunately, for some reason, they cannot, on the men's side, they cannot pass a couple rounds in soccer, no matter if it's the World Cup or the Copa America tournament. So it is unfortunately sad to say. You always have the women.
Yeah, now they're called.
Bring
now
the
they're
United
calling,
States strong.
Yeah, now they're calling it for the head coach's, head already. Fired. The guy Burkhalter that they brought back. So good.
Yeah.
And by the way, that save that you referenced, the guy from Turkey, that was unbelievable save.
Absolutely. It was an incredible save. Other news in the Euro Cup, we have made it to the Elite Eight, as I call it, or the quarterfinal rounds. Game times and matchups include Spain versus Germany tomorrow at 12 p.m. on Fox. You have Portugal, France, 3 p.m. on Fox. And concluding on Saturday with England versus Switzerland, 12 p.m. on Fox, and Netherlands versus Turkey, 3 p.m. on Fox. The Final Four semifinals will be on July 9th and 10th, concluding next Sunday with the championship game. Over to the Copa America, it's a similar situation. They're at the Elite Eight quarterfinals with games beginning today at 9 p.m. on Fox, Argentina versus Ecuador, then continuing tomorrow with Venezuela and Canada, 9 p.m. on FS1, and concluding on Saturday, starting at 6 p.m. on FS1 with Colombia versus Panama, and 9 p.m. also on FS1, Uruguay versus Brazil. Same situation, semifinals on July 9th and 10th, and concluding next Sunday with the championship. So get ready for Championship Sunday next week. A lot of soccer to look at. You have one game tonight if you're interested in not watching the fireworks or any of MLB games. So take a look at that. And that's our soccer report for the week.
Very, very good. By the way, so I think I'm rooting for Colombia because that's one of our loyal listeners, our resident soccer expert, Diego Cruz. So we're pulling for Colombia here. Right.
All right. Well, we'll pull for Colombia then. Yeah. I mean, a lot of great games out there. I mean, we'll see who advances. I mean, the Euro Cup for sure is going to be one of those where you don't know who's going to win because England always seems to go always far, but then they're always knocked out right before the championship. So you can't always trust them. You have Portugal, Spain. You have brand new teams that are not your typical Italy, Croatia, that are always out there, always battling towards the end. So it'll be fun to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and that's a good point you brought up because I didn't know this actually. I was talking to Diego about England and how they barely, survived kind of thing.
Anything.
And I didn't realize that they really haven't won a major event like a Euro Cup or a World Cup or anything since 1966. And that surprised me very much.
It is. So, but that's like the United States too in terms of the men. They have no luck. They can't get past the first couple of rounds. They don't even make it that far. So England and the United States share that same luck when it comes to men's soccer.
Yep, it does. So good update on that. And I know a lot of people, a lot of our fans listening to the show are into soccer, and so it's on the table here. So let's move on because we got a bunch of stuff to cover, yes. And I just want to. Let's touch base because there was a lot of moving and shaking in the NBA. And before we even jump into some of the details of that, I mean the salaries that are going, these guys are getting now is just almost astronomical. And I don't know, we're talking about guys like Jason Tatum just got, a $315 million contract, right? And I know in sports, Mike Trout got the $300 million, but this is, it really is getting out of control. So what's a guy like Luka Doncic and Giannis Antetokounmpo? What are they going to get? Here's just a couple samples, right? just the Boston Celtics alone, Tatum, they gave $312 million.
Yeah.
Derek White, $125 million. Jaylen Brown was already the highest paid guy in the league. So these salaries are now
increasing.
Even Isaiah Hartenstein, $82 million. So I don't know when Luka's contract is up or Jokic's contract. We could be talking about 80 or $90 million a year for these basketball players at the rate this is going.
Yeah, it's honestly insane, Jim, to see how big of a contract that you now have to give these guys. And the fact that, bothers me the most is they're always injured and they play like nothing for beginning of the season and even the end of the season, but yet somehow get paid the most money and are considered the greatest of all time in terms of the newest GOAT of basketball. It still blows my mind to see. It's not like the NHL where you're working hard. It really is shocking to me how these contracts are really becoming increasing in extension. Another big name that shocked me the most was Klay Thompson, I think, in my book. How I was not expecting Klay Thompson, who was a Warrior for life, to go to Dallas and for a 3-year, $50 million contract, which is, of course, is, to me, it's almost like nothing.
It's low.
If you ask me, it's low. And especially that it's a 3-year contract for $50 million, it's a really low contract.
Well, you have to look at it too, though. He is 34. He's had some injuries over the years, but you look at.
But he was a Warrior for life. He won 4 championships with them. What is it going to be like in Dallas? Dallas has not had the run as Golden State had in the past 10 years. Yes, in the playoff run in terms of that, but not mathematically in the NBA Finals run. Out of all the teams, it shocked me the most.
Yeah, I know. And another one. Here's another one. Paul George gets another max contract, 4 years, $212 million. And you know what? I recall when he went to the Clippers, they gave up everything to get him, right? And they paid him he had a supermax contract already. So the money we're talking about staggering numbers. I mean, and we're seeing it in football too, right? The quarterbacks are getting paid.
But again, when it comes to the quarterback market, though, that's a whole new market compared to what we see in the NBA. When it comes to quarterbacks, absolutely they deserve the money because they are what sets the team in motion and gives them the points that they need to win the game. In basketball, it's not just a one-man show that's going to drive your team to success. And I don't understand these contracts, especially the amount of games played, the injury level that we see always, the amount of so-called breaks that we get, the in-season tournament, and then failure come time for the playoff run. It just still blows my mind.
It really is just getting almost crazy. And then listen, so we know that that's out of control, right? And when you look at the NHL, right, they're the guys that are only making, and I say only, $8 million. So Reinhardt just got paid $57 million or whatever it was. And, 8 years, $69 million. So when you put this into perspective about setting the bar, right, for quarterbacks or players, what about guys like Connor McDavid? What about guys like Austin Matthews? These guys are going to have to get paid too. But comparatively speaking to the NBA and the NHL, and I've always said the NHL is the hardest trophy to win, they're not making that kind of money. And I know people will say, well, they don't have the market that the NBA does or the NFL does. And that's, I'll grant you that. But, these are some of the best hockey players in the world. And comparatively speaking, they're not on par with any other sports league.
I just want to point out real quick, the NHL spent more than $1 billion in 1 day of NHL free agency. That's an insane number right there. I mean, look at that number right there in general. And now to mention all the trades, the additions to the team, it really is crazy. Devils, they brought back Tatar, Tuna is what they call him. Nelson, they signed, which was a pretty big sign for the Devils. And just in general, all these other teams, it is crazy to see the market that we've been seeing. The free agency level within the past 3 days has been insane. And we're not done with the week, Jim. I mean, obviously today's a holiday. We don't have to consider it. But we're not done with the week. We saw Friday, which is a regular day in the business.
Yep. And, you look at some of these transactions, right? everybody had high expectations for the Rangers, and it looked like they were ready and primed to win the Stanley Cup, and they didn't. So they lose a guy, very key guy, by the way, like Barclay Goodrow, which is a big loss for the Rangers. He's the best face-off man. He's been a heart and soul. He's a two-time Cup winner, so he's got some pedigree there, and they lose him. So there's going to be a lot of movement in free agency. And here's a big name, Steven Stamkos, right?
Yes,
career guy with Tampa Bay Lightning. He's a surefire Hall of Famer, right?
Right.
He's going to Nashville. So, we see this a lot, Eli, in a lot of sports. Guys that were career one-team players, and then they get, the general managers have to look at this and say, can we continue to pay this, or are we rebuilding and we'll start again? But that's a big loss for Tampa Bay, because this guy, like I said, he's got over 550 goals. He's been the heart and soul Stanley Cup winner. And so there's a lot of shaking and moving going on right now in free agency in both the NBA and the NHL.
No question. But back to the NHL, we have other news to talk about, and then I'll go back to the NBA in just a little bit. We'll go with the Seattle Kraken first. They have hired Jessica Campbell as their new assistant coach. She is the first woman to be named an assistant or had a head coaching spot in NHL history. So congratulations to that, because that is an historic moment in the NHL and in the sports world history, for sure.
Big time. Big time. As a matter of fact, I had that in my random points. I was going to mention Jessica Campbell. And I'm assuming when they say an assistant coach, she will be behind the bench during games.
Yes,
right.
It's pretty insane to see. We do have another comment from Mike Garvey. Please. That's a comment, please.
It has to be, Mike. We have to report it. How can I tell you?
Yeah. All right. Well, we also have opening day for the NHL will be on Tuesday, October 8th. It will be a triple header on ESPN starting at 4:30 with St. Louis versus Seattle, Boston versus Florida at 7, and concluding at 10 p.m. with Chicago versus Utah. The 2024-2025 NHL schedule has been officially released, so go check out when your local team will be playing or your team that you root for. We also see the Devils will be playing on October 10th versus Toronto. That is their home opener. We could also see another Frozen Frenzy Redwood Zone style again, as coverage will have all 32 teams playing on October 22nd, with the day beginning at 6 p.m. So we could be seeing that happening. That is pretty cool to see. A lot of big moments there for the NHL to look forward to, indeed.
Yeah, good update. So let's move on to Major League Baseball now. And we're kind of seeing a historic season by Aaron Judge right now. I mean, the guy is just knocking the cover. We're looking at a potential triple crown, which is very, very rare, obviously. The last one, I believe, Miguel Cabrera. But before that, it was Ted Williams and so forth, or it was Ted. I know it was Ted Williams, but I thought somebody else might have won the Triple Crown. So, but you see what's happening. It's a long season in baseball, right? So the Yankees were unbeatable early on the season when Judge wasn't even hitting,
right?
And now they're hitting, but now their pitching starting to get a little crack in the armor here, right? So it does even out, and but we're seeing a great season by Ohtani, which is what we expected. And, I think a lot of that offensive performance has a lot to do with the fact that he's not pitching. So he's not, he's not burning the candle at both ends. So it's really a great, when we're talking about Aaron Judge, we're talking about seasons where the only guys to do this or had 30 home runs before the All-Star break and so forth were Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. So, I mean, we're talking just an almost surefire MVP season. Hopefully he can stay healthy. And, like baseball, we're past the halfway mark.
Yes.
And look what we're seeing, right?
The All-Stars coming up.
Right. So the Mets overachieving, I think so to some extent.
Yes. I mean, the grimace look is like 50-50. I don't like it. I mean, they win some, they lose some. I can give up with that. The Mets are not moving far. I'm going to put that out there now. It's too early. It's July. The downfall is going to come. How long can this grimace luck last? Come on. What's this new thing now? I mean,
I know.
I don't see it.
so we always go back and, the Mets, the question is, will they or will not trade Pete Alonso? And listen, Pete Alonso is a good player, and he's going to hit
No
you
question.
35, 40, 40 plus home runs. But he's not Aaron Judge. I mean, he's hitting only like 220 or 230 or something. So to put Judge's season into perspective, but yeah, Alonso could be that linchpin for the Mets, and if they're still in this race come August 1st, which I think is the trade deadline, they got a lot of decisions to make.
No question. There's a lot of decisions to make and a lot of, careful choices. Obviously we know that the All-Star's coming up. Who do they risk their injury level? We know how the injuries go right after the All-Star break. We just got to the teams have to be now conservative about the decision, not only from the money side, injury side, and will this affect them heading into the World Series run?
Right. And there's no question that the prime free agent after this season is Juan Soto. So
right.
I said it before that I think he loves playing with Aaron Judge. I think he loves being a Yankee. But the Mets may offer him more money, but I think he is going to stay.
He's staying there. He's going to stay. Yeah. Why would you go to the Mets? I mean, listen, have you looked at their run? Like, you want to go to a team that's going to have success. And I think that's what Juan Soto is looking for. I don't think so much about the money part, who he wants to play with, and what the success level he has. When you're with the Mets, you're seen basically as a failure. You're basically set up for failure with the New York Mets. When you look at the New York Yankees, you could see an up and down roller coaster, maybe good runs, but you're playing with Judge, though. That's how I look at it here. The Mets, you're seeing as a failure because every time you lose, your franchise is looked as a failure.
It is. So, but listen, the teams that you expect to be there, like the Braves have been falling on hard times, right? They lost Acuna for the year. So, that guaranteed that the Braves were going to win that division, or battle it out with Philadelphia. That still remains to be seen. The Dodgers are the Dodgers, and they got a really good team. And again, the surprise team, I guess, in baseball is the Cleveland Guardians. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, look at them. They're in second place right now, just two wins ahead to being in first place, beating Baltimore's record. Is it possible? Absolutely. Is it not possible? Absolutely. It's still early, though. That's the only you got to look at it. But the Cleveland absolutely has been off to a decent start so far, and you cannot, underestimate that.
You got that right. Yeah. So, Eli, before we move on, I mean, I know it's kind of a quiet time in the NFL. There's still some free agents that, haven't been signed, or like the Brandon Ayuk situation in San Francisco, stuff like that. But, we're getting close. We're, I think, 9 weeks from opening day in the NFL.
Yeah, pretty much 8 weeks down the line, ready to go. It's right after 4th of July, it's the kickoff start. That's when it goes into full gear. And I think that's when they'll be ready to shine, getting ready to go.
Yeah. And we're going to have to hear about Aaron Rodgers every day for the next, 6 months.
If he gets injured or something happens on the first opening game, Monday night versus San Francisco, we're never going to hear the end of it. And that's going to be the monologue and the first topic that we're going to talk about that next Saturday that we are on the show. I just want to clarify that real quick because that is going to be the biggest headline heading into this year. Not to mention about Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, just about that.
Right. So you can't, obviously they got to be the favorites because, they're A, the defending champs, and B, they have Mahomes. But when you're, looking at the New York Giants and, Daniel Jones, they're paying him $40 million year after year. We say this has to be a breakthrough year. This has to be the breakthrough year.
No, I've never seen it.
Either he gets it done this year and, Well, okay, so we have a serviceable backup, but, Drew Luck's not making $40 million, so it's on Daniel Jones to make this work. They got the
guarantee
number 1 draft
first
pick
game. After the first game, he'll be benched. Drew Lock is going to be your starter. Guarantee. If not the first, it'll be the second. Guarantee.
No,
I do not trust. Look at Daniel Jones and the week 1 last year that he had 40-0 versus Dallas. And you're telling me he's going to go into week 1 and off to a strong start? I don't see it, Jim.
No,
the only time I'll see him have a great start is going to be with Carolina. That'll be the goodest start that he'll have.
And that game, by the way, is in Germany.
9:30 in the morning.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's just kind of training camps coming upon us, and we all look forward to the NFL. And like we like we do with high school football and college football. We love this stuff. And by the way, I'm setting up getting Luke Whippler back on the show before he
Yep.
reports to training camp, his second year in the league, and see how things go for the life of an NFL guy in training camp. It should be an interesting conversation. So
absolutely
wanted to bring that up too. Eli. So let's move on to some random points of interest. And I got a few here. Of course, it's sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, who, by the way, good news, I know you heard in the news, there was some ransomware technical thing that was hijacking the company that provides all of the databases and electronic transfers for car dealerships.
okay.
Really big thing, and it affected a lot of dealerships and the process of buying a car, but Lynch Toyota, fortunately, was spared from that, and that's good news for our sponsor for sure.
Absolutely.
Right? So a couple of random points. I'm sure you have some too. We just talked a little bit before about the Paris Olympics, and this is an interesting thing. Quincy Wilson, 16 years old, qualified for the men's 4x400 relay. So, 16 years old. And when you look at these runners, they are some of the most physically imposing people, in the world of athletics. They're just so absolutely perfect and lightning fast, but a kid who's 16 years old. So you got to be rooting for Quincy Wilson, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You have to.
Yeah.
It's how, run.
Right. A couple other quick things. I saw this come by on the news the other day that we always talk about character in sports, right? And doing the right thing. And there was this situation with the Chicago Blackhawks back in 2001, cases of sexual abuse, and it was reported, and these guys buried it. Stan Bowman and Joel Quenneville, who was the coach at the time.
Right.
But it just came out that they have now been okayed to return to the league. I don't think we need characters like that into the league. When you cross the line, you've taken away that opportunity to reap the benefits of that particular sport. So I thought it was a little unfair, certainly to the victims of that situation.
Oh, yeah.
It could have been prevented, could have been stopped. And, Joel Quenneville's probably second or third on the all-time wins list. But I think there's got to be something with character, and you can't just wipe that slate clean. And, I think there's enough people in the sporting world that wouldn't turn a blind eye to this. So I was a little disappointed in the NHL in reinstating those guys into this league. So
right, that was a little bit
of just one of my
shocking one there,
thoughts,
right?
Of course. Right, and I just wanted to do something I did notice. We just talked about the NFL and it's coming up, right? So it seems like Sean Payton is all in on this guy, Bo Nix. And you remember I talked about him on the show. I thought he had a good chance to win the Heisman Trophy, and he had just an unbelievable year at Oregon. He was a really good quarterback at Auburn. So, Sean Payton is rolling the dice. Obviously, he knew Russell Wilson couldn't do it anymore. So this should be an interesting thing. I think Sean Payton's job is on the line if this is how he decides to go. But I think Drew Nix has some really excellent skills, and I think he could materialize into a quality NFL quarterback.
To me, I don't think this is last year for Sean Payton, regardless of how it turns out, because you had Russell Wilson, who pretty much failed last year and the year before. No matter who was the coach, he did not drive to success. And now you're going to start with a brand new quarterback. Again, first time playing in the NFL. How will this play out? That is what, how I view it. Yeah. I don't know how. Yeah. I don't think right away his job is on the line. I think look at the quarterbacks that you gave him, and then look at the team. You have Zach Wilson, and then him. Like
and Jarrett Stidham. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, your line is not exactly a home run in the park, as I like to call it, because.
Well, I'm sure he's counting on the fact that Bo Nix won't turn out to be a Zach Wilson, who was like pick number one, and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Anyway,
Of course.
just an observation. Just an observation.
Yes. All right.
And Eli, before we forget, I mean, today is a big day in the world of Major League
eating.
food eating or whatever it is.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
The Joey
12 o'clock.
Chestnut will not be in Coney Island today, but he's having another hot dog eating contest somewhere else. So he will not defend his title. It's been a lot of political discussion surrounding that.
He should have
but, you know,
played. Who cares? It's just a hot dog.
Yeah.
If you could eat all of those 70 hot dogs, then you should play then. But if you can't, I don't want to hear nothing. Even if he goes vegan, who cares? Let him play.
Yeah.
It's hot dogs. It's
So
4th of July.
That's a good question. Does that mean the hot dog eating contest is vegan hot dogs?
No, I don't know. That's a good question.
Are they vegan hot dogs that he's eating?
That's a good perspective, I guess. I don't know. For the competition,
anyway,
I have no idea. I couldn't say.
Yeah. Either way, he's going to eat a ton of hot dogs. That's for sure. That means that
I want to see who the new champion is.
ESPN
2 has it 12 o'clock for the men's.
Okay. And give me your random points for our audience here.
All right, we'll start off with the Major League Baseball All-Stars have been announced along with the competitions heating up on July 16th. There are new rules for the Home Run Derby that include 3-minute rounds, 40 pitches, 1 timeout, 3 bonus outs, and 425 home runs, 425 home run in the bonus period, running a 4th bonus out. There are also some other rules changes as well. So just take a look at ESPN.com or MLB.com for the latest home run derby changes. We are going to head over to the world of NBA again, as the LeBron James has renegotiated his contract to a 2-year, $104 million deal. No surprise there. He wanted to be with Bronny James and the Lakers all along. So that free agency did not last long, I can tell you that much. But
and by the way, they actually signed Bronny James to a 4-year, $8 million contract or something like that. So
that's horrible.
He's going to make the team. But we talked about it. Yep.
Yeah, we know that already. Other some trades obviously signings have happened. Another big one that was from locally from New Jersey, former Timberwolves forward New Jersey native Kyle Anderson is heading to the Golden State Warriors under a 3-year, $27 million deal, which is pretty good. He is a Fairview native from my hometown, so that's pretty cool to see. And also, I found this post on Instagram from a local friend that, of course, does all the St. Mary tournament Christmas games for basketball. He posts on Instagram. He runs a team called Team Slow-Mo. On his way to the gym, Kyle Anderson was supposed to meet with his team, the Summer League team over down there. On his way, he found out about the Golden State contract. He signed a 3-year contract with the Warriors. We knew that. He was on his way to it. He was late to the signing, but still showed up to meet with the kids and to be with them. So that was a special moment to see. And of course, it was a he obviously signed a 3-year deal. He found out and did everything electronically in the car on the way there and still managed to show up to take pictures and be with, the kids. So it was a special moment. So congrats to Kyle Anderson on a contract. A good job for always sticking to your commitment and not giving up. Most people would give up and not skip the kids meet and greet, but he still showed up anyways.
Good for him.
Yeah, Fairview native.
One for Jersey.
One for Jersey, folks. Other news happening there. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, Chicago, have been named WNBA All-Stars for the first time since 2014. That both rookies made an All-Star team in the same year.
Yeah, but you also know that even if Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese wasn't having a good season, they were going to make the All-Star team anyway, because that's going to be the big draw for the WNBA. So
absolutely.
And you know how it works.
Yeah, you know how it goes. Meanwhile, New York Liberty is in first place with the 17-3 record. Last night, Phoenix over Dallas, 104-96. You have games today on Prime Video, tomorrow on ION, and then CBS and ESPN this weekend. Other news happening, of course, you have the men's hot dog eating contest today at 12 o'clock on ESPN2. You have your Macy's 4th of July fireworks today on NBC and Peacock at 8 o'clock. They're live from the Hudson River. My advice, don't head down to West New York, Weehawken, Edgewater, or Hoboken in New Jersey. It is going to be no parking, nowhere to go. Just watch the fireworks from home. I live right down. I will not be going there. I can tell you that right now. It's going to be a mess. Also, you also have a Capital Fourth live from Washington, D.C. at 8 p.m. on PBS if you're interested in watching that. Great programs tonight. That's the Random Points. Happy 4th.
Good job, Eli. So listen, to do something a little different. I know our recommendation segment, which is brought to you by Vital Selections, real
Scan the
healthy
QR code to learn
alternative.
more.
Yeah, healthy beat supplement, and take care of your health, and Vital Selections will take care of you.
Yes.
So Eli, so my recommendation, we've for a long time have done books, we've done movies, and I did get a suggestion from Andrew Carolyn, one of our very loyal listeners, said maybe flip it up, maybe do restaurant recommendations or something. But I'm going to change it, even if it's just for the week, because I drive a lot, right? I'm in my car a lot, so I listen to music a lot. And when I talk to guys that are younger, like your age, a little bit older, they may not have an appreciation for the Beatles and what the Beatles brought to this country and to the world of music. So it's one of those. I would hope that the younger generation takes a little bit more interest and can listen to the Beatles and realize how impactful it was to a lot of people. And of course, when John Lennon was assassinated in 1980, it just, it changed the course of the culture of this country and so forth, that something like that could happen. So I'm a big Beatles fan. I grew up, my brother and I, he was my roommate in one of our rooms upstairs, and he was a diehard Beatles fan. And that's when they used to have the old 45 records. And so I have an incredible appreciation for the Beatles. And I also have a great admiration for Elvis Presley. And why these two tie in is because there were two famous quotes. And Elvis Presley was just an absolute dynamic figure, and he was rock and roll. And I told you how impactful and important the Beatles were. There was a quote from John Lennon that said, "If there was no Elvis Presley, there would never have been the Beatles." So that tells you
anything, period,
that those guys had. That's coming from John Lennon, who was, him and McCartney were the head of the Beatles, but that's a powerful, powerful statement. And there was one other quote from Buddy Holly, right? Rock and roll guy. And, he said, if it wasn't for Elvis, none of us would have made it. So that tells you how influential he was. So that's my recommendation, is for people to take an appreciation for that kind of music. And Elvis Presley has, gospel music, whatever your flavor he could do. And again, listen to the Beatles, because it's one of those, when you're driving in a car and a Beatles song comes on, you never change the radio. Never.
Well, that's just like a couple of other big names out there that will absolutely inspire the future. Michael Jackson, Prince. These are some of the, originals that happened. Sure. Whitney Houston, just some of the originals that, Tina, the little, names that come out, but they changed the game of music. We don't look at it, but some of the big names are out there, started from way back, and we still look back at it now. And that's what we got to be appreciative for.
Yep. And I'm glad that you got the point that I was trying to make, that, music plays such an important part in our culture, just like sports does. So it's important. And so that's my recommendation. And then we'll figure out what next week will bring, right?
Absolutely. We head to a video now, I believe.
Yes. Let's show that video first. Okay. And I know you guys think I'm harping on it, but this is, again, that's my grandson playing third base and making the play, and they win the game 12-11. So he's pitching, he's catching, he's a wonderful athlete, and just getting to see him play is just, it's really, really special.
That was actually pretty good video coverage, by the way. It's better than what we mostly have. So.
He's in this 10-year-old league, and, he's kind of playing above that level. But it's so organized, and they send updates, and you can read about it and watch these games live on TV. So I know people that have young kids. They this is what we grew up doing, and now I get a chance to see it being done by my grandson. So I wanted to bring that up.
Absolutely.
So Eli, we always, go into notable passings, and this one's a little personal for me. So you and I talked about the show this morning, and we have another picture. Let's put that picture up, and that's me at a St. Joe's game with my friend and high school classmate and teammate, and he passed away unexpectedly this week. So that's Bob Petruska, and that's a kind of a big loss because, as we've talked about before, when you grow up and you play team sports, you find this dynamic, and it's really truly is a brotherhood. And a funny story about this, the fact that when I first met Bob, on the backfield at St. Joe's when we were 14 years old, right? We came from different towns. We didn't know anybody. So the object was you have to stake your claim, right? So him and I had a one-on-one battle, and quite frankly, we didn't really like each other. And then yet 8 years later, we became, dear best friends, and he was in my wedding party. So, it doesn't always start. It's not always love at first sight, but when you lose somebody as
Wow.
close to the St. Joe's community and as close to, when you hear Bob Petruska, you hear Don Orlowski, you hear Mark O'Brien, you hear these names, and it's just a very sad. He leaves behind two. Well, they're grown kids now, but it's something to really take note of, that things aren't forever, and tragedy happens, and it's a big loss for both me and our friends and the St. Joe's community, and so I wanted to send a shout out to
our deepest condolences as well,
RJ and his daughter Rachel. So big loss for me personally, and like I said, it makes you not take things for granted because things could end in a short period of time.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to bring that up, and I actually brought up before I had an opportunity. I spoke to Luke Whippler's dad, and wasn't even aware that his mother had passed away a few weeks ago, and I wasn't informed of it. I didn't know about it, but I wanted to send my condolences to the Whippler family as well for their losses. But like I said, Eli, when we talk about sports, it's kind of to take a break from the realities that sometimes haunt us.
Absolutely.
And this was a big loss for me, and I'm glad that we had the picture. And but it's the 4th of July, and unfortunately things like this are going to happen. But that's what we did the monologue and talked about the 4th of July and how important it is to this nation. And, with all the things, it probably really is the best place in the world to be. The best country is sometimes we're dysfunctional as a society, and you can't avoid that. But, overall, for the freedoms that we share, and, I send this out to, again, we always talk about our servicemen and women, but sometimes the people, the founding fathers and the soldiers and the Continental Army doesn't get the just due. And I wanted to make sure that we brought that up as we're having a barbecue today, or people are going and celebrating and to see fireworks. And it was because of them that we have those freedoms today. So I wanted to mention that. Sure. Right.
Thank you.
Okay. So unfortunately, Eli's going, not unfortunately.
Not unfortunately.
But he's going on. This is why we did our 4th of July special today, which was outstanding, by the way. I love it. I love the banners in the back, Eli. I love your red, white, and blue shirt.
Thank you too, Jim.
Red, white, and blue shirt. But there's not going to be a show this Saturday because Eli will be on vacation.
That's why we had it today.
Yep. And then we'll be right back at it the following Saturday, as always. And so, Eli, I wanted to wish you and your family a very special trip, and it sounds fun.
And hope everyone has a great time here in Jersey. I hope everyone.
Yeah. And listen, of course, I just want to remind people that, you know, we're really doing good on the show, and we're getting a lot of feedback from a lot of our listeners, and we love the comments that we get. As a matter of fact, Eric Tenbrook, one of our loyal listeners, sent us an email this morning of a picture of Bob Petruska, you know, on the football field, and we were 15 years old. So it's stuff like that that means stuff. So we thank our listeners. We love your feedback, whether you text me or Eli or send us an email during the show or a comment during the show. Send us an email at sportswithmono@gmail.com. So everybody, have yourself a wonderful 4th of July. Thanks for getting up with us on July 4th, and thanks for the ongoing support. And Eli, have a great trip, and we'll be back at it the following Saturday.
Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy the holiday. Stay safe.
You got it. Thank you.